Hello and welcome back to Motors for the Masses, and on the back of the success of my 5 amazing, and I know you like that word, motorbikes that should be brought back, today I'm going on to cars. Now before you switch off, I think these cars will be excellent if they are to return. See, I didn't use amazing. I just did. Anyway, let's roll the intro and get cracking. So, these are 10 cars that I believe should be made again. Now, before I start on this list, I first of all want to point out that the comments I've had on my previous videos on this subject, and thank you very much for everyone who's commented and liked and shared my videos. The comments are basically saying, I had one of those, it was rubbish, da, da, da. What people don't seem to understand is that I don't want the exact same item brought back. I want the same style, the same look and the same sound now, or even a better sound. Now I understand the two-stroke thing was a bit of a contentious subject, and I get that. I'm just saying that perhaps with modern technology they can recreate a similar sound. I don't know, but anyway, onto the cars. So yeah, what I'm saying is I don't want exact same things brought back, just the same look, the same feel, the same concept, just slightly modernized with modern technology. So better engines, not electric. Maybe a hybrid, okay, I get that. Better economy, better brakes, better suspension, that sort of thing. Modern technology making them better, but they still look very similar, just a modern take on the old versions of these vehicles. So please bear that in mind. Not saying I want the old ones back, because some of the cars in this list, and I'll go through them, had some issues. So I'm not saying let's bring the cars back with those issues. I'm saying modernized versions. So if that's clear, and it should be, let's start with number 1. And that is this. My very first car when I was 17 back in 1991, the Ford Capri. Now Ford started the Capri in 1969 in the UK, and that's what I'm talking about, the UK version of the Ford Capri. Now this was made famous by Del Boy. If none of you in America know what Del Boy is or who Del Boy is, it's Only Fools and Horses. Have a look in his Capri gear. I think that was a Mark II, not a Mark I. I'm sure it was a Mark II Capri. But anyway, I liked the Mark I and I liked the Mark II. And here's a picture of each of them here. But I'm specifically talking about the Mark III, and the reason for that is that I think it's just modern enough to almost be timeless. Now, with a modern take, I think this would be epic. I mean, absolutely epic. Now, before we start getting into that, I do want to point out that they are talking about bringing back the Capri for 2024, and here are some spy pictures. And yes, unfortunately, Ford have done it again. They've made what was an epic sports saloon coupe type car into a bloody crossover stroke SUV wannabe. Just like they did with the Mustang and everything else that seems to be the trend. And we don't want this. We don't want all that. Okay, fair enough, do some, but not every single vehicle. It's like they've got some kind of list, and on the top of that list there's 2 items. 1, make it electric. 2, make it a crossover. No, we don't need that. Okay, do a hybrid. I get that. We'll have a hybrid as long as it's got a combustion engine that's got a nice sound to it. We don't need another crossover stroke SUV type thing. It's so boring and it's done overly. So I've seen a render someone did on a Mark I think it was a Mark I Capri might have been a Mark II, into a modern take, and this is it. That is what we want, not this thing that they've done. It's awful. It's ugly. It looks nothing like a Capri. I mean, this is the Capri that I'm talking about, and this is superb. I mean, the Mark I Capri was nice. The Mark II Capri was very close to the Mark III, but the Mark III was just epic. Now, as I say, this was my first car, and these are, excuse the pictures, because there was no digital cameras in 1991. Well, not that I had anyway. So this was my Capri. It was a 1.6 GL, and it was the best car in the world when I had it, obviously. All my mates were driving around in Mark I Fiestas and Minis and Metros and stuff like that. And I had the Capri, and it was cool. And I think it still is. Now, there's been various different versions. I love the 280 Brooklands. I also love the 2.8 gear. The 2-litre Sport they did was very nice. I particularly have a massive admiration for these two, and that is the X-Pack with the whale tail, and specifically this, the double X-Pack. I mean, look at that. That was superb. It's just bulging in all the right places. It's just epic. Now, there was a company called Tickford, which also made a version which was part of Aston Martin. They did this, the turbo version of the Capri. I've also seen other concepts like this one. Again, no, I can see what they're doing with the back window, but it's not a Capri. It looks like every other Ford from the front end and then the back end of an Aston Martin. I mean, it's just, no. If you're going to do it like the old school, but do it properly. So the Capri I'm specifically talking about was built between 1978 and 1985, although some were registered up until 1988 or 1989. And I have seen some G-regs about which were 1990. They obviously had far too many that still needed registering. They made this Mark III version in a 1.6 four-cylinder right up to a 2.8i V6. So then let's move on to number 2. And that is this, the Fiat 131 Abarth. Now, the basic version of the Fiat 131 was just a 4-door saloon of the day. Didn't look anything special. They made it between 1974 and 1984. However, the Abarth version was made between 1976 and 1978, and it was so good they made a rally version of it, and that is the version, the road version of that, I think they should bring back. I mean, they did do a TC Sport version, which was quite nice looking, didn't have the bulging arches, but still much better looking than the standard 131. However, this is the one they need to bring back. The 131 Abarth Rally. I mean, look at that with the bulging arches and the, oh yes, imagine that with all the modern technology on it. Now I'm just going to stop here for a second, because although this one had a 2-litre twin cam engine, epic engine, in lots of cars it was used, and again a nice 2-litre turbo I think would work very well. Even a 2-litre hybrid would work very well. Now, I know some of these cars I'm going to talk about, companies have brought out modern versions of these cars, but they're stupid money. They're bespoke companies that take an old shell and put modern technology in it, and they're 70, 80,000 pounds, and that's no good. What we need is the company that made it. So for example, Ford to make the Ford, Fiat to make the Fiat. I'm sure they still have the molds laying around somewhere, and they can reuse those molds and just make modern versions with those cars. Modern technology, alloy parts, you know, but we're still with the same design, just slightly modified or upgraded. And that's what I'm talking about, not a bespoke company making these cars and sticking £70,000 on top of the price it should be because it's special. Yes, I get that, but it's just too much. And generally people can't afford to buy that. Only the odd few. And I'm on about mainstream purchasers, you know, alongside your 4 million types of crossovers that are out there. So let's move on to number 3. And that is this, the Triumph Dolomite Sprint. Now, another 70s, 80s car. This was built between 1973 and 1980 and had a 2-litre single overhead cam 16-valve engine. Again, the basic version was nothing special to look at. You could argue it's got a similar shape to that standard Fiat 131, but the Dolomite Sprint was brilliant. And again, another car they thought would make a great race car. Great little engine, great suspension, great feel. I mean, okay, again, it could have been better, and with modern technology, it would be better. But look at that. It's got some great lines to it. It's a lovely back end. I love the way they inset the rear window. Fantastic look. And those double headlights again with that little sort of Alfa Romeo-esque split. Alfa Romeo Lancia type split down the front. British Leyland's answer to an Italian beauty. So yes, the Triumph Dolomite Sprint. Now I know Triumph don't make cars anymore, but Triumph still exists. And I don't know how you get round that. Perhaps a company would buy out the design and redo it. Who knows? There's an option there. Again, not a bespoke small company that's going to make it modern and put out a price ticket of £80,000. It needs to be a mainstream car. This one could be difficult as the company doesn't make cars anymore. So with that, let's move on to number 4. And that is this car. Now, before I show you the car, this is a Marmite car. I think you either love it or you hate it. Now again, before I show you this, don't think about the quality of the original vehicle. Don't think about how good it was engine-wise, bodywork-wise, mechanical-wise, because I'm sure it was pretty. However, imagine this with modern tech in it. Oh, just let me show you the car. It's this, the Alfa Romeo SZ. And I love it. Now, these were built between 1989 and 1991 and had a 3-litre V6 engine. I mean, look at it. That front end with those triple headlights either side just looked epic. Yes, okay, it's a massive block of cheddar. I get that. But I love that. It's so different. I mean, okay, the boot could be designed better because it was a bit pointlessly weird. And I'm not a fan of the convertible, although I do like the sort of Ferrari-esque fins when the roof is down on the convertible. But as a hardtop, it's just, oh, look at it. It's just gorgeous. I mean, it's just so different. Absolutely special. Really, really special. And I want one. So then on to number 5. And this is a car I don't think a huge amount of people have heard of, and that's because it's not a British manufacturer or an American manufacturer. It was French. And that is this, the Facal Vega II. Not the first one, because it was a bit too roundy and bubbly, or the FV, not really. But the Facal Vega II was stunning. It was only made between 1962 and 1964, but had a 6.3 litre or a 6.7 litre Chrysler V8 engine. And look at it. It looks like something out of Thunderbirds. That's what I like. I mean, it's got a bit of a Thunderbird look to it, but it looks like something that, yes, my lady should be driving. It's just gorgeous. Parker, that's the one. Parker, yes, my lady. Anyway, I digress. I mean, look at it. It's just stunning in every way. It's got that lovely, long, sleek, straight line and then a roof on top. It's just beautiful. I love those shotgun over-under headlights and that massive grille. It's sort of got a bit of a Bentley meets Rover on it. It's just epic. I love the little fins on the back, and it's got a bit of an American look to it, but it's just gorgeous in every way. I love that. Beautiful, beautiful vehicle. And I would love to see one of them on my driveway. I mean, you can see where my tastes are going, I'm sure. The unusual. And I suppose unusual could be difficult, because then unusual means subjective taste, not the mainstream taste. But it's just very different. And I think that is what makes it attractive. So on to number 6. And I think this one is not a camp divider. most people are going to be in the "oh yes" camp. Here it is, the good old Ford Escort Mark 1. Now this was made between 1968 and 1975. They had a range of engines, a 1 litre, a 1.1, a 1.3, a 1.6 and a 2 litre. They did a 4-door version or a 2-door version. The 4-door, again, like everything else, a bit meh, but they sold millions of them. I mean, with the modern design and modern technology, they could make a 4-door look like a 2-door by hiding the handle and putting it higher up in the door pillar and whatever. But I think this was just epic. I have one myself. It's a rally project that I will get round to at some point. It's my learning car, so I'm going to learn a lot about cars whilst rebuilding this and turning it into a rally replica. I've got years to do it, so that will come after the Mustang. So yes, a Mark 1 Escort. And again, there's a company, MST, I think that's MST, who do a modern version of it. Looks the same with all the modern tech in it. But again, it's 70, 80 grand or 60 grand, whatever. And it's just too much money. It needs to be a 20, 25,000 pound car. Same design, just with modern tech that they stick in a Fiesta or something. That would work. I mean, this car was used in one of the Fast and Furious movies that Brian was driving. Paul Walker, poor old Paul Walker. Remember him well? Sad. But yes, a Mark 1 Escort. Yes, I love the original, but imagine that as a new car in the showrooms that you could buy. Yes, Mark 1 Escort, especially with the wide flared arches they used in the rally version. And the wide flared arches I'm putting on my one, so stay tuned for that in future videos. But yes, a Mark 1 Escort, definitely. So that brings us on to number 7. And number 7 you could not have without number 6, or the other way around, number 6 you couldn't have without number 7. And that is this, the Mark II Escort. Now these followed on from the Mark 1, made between 1975 and 1980. Again, came with a range of engines, 1.1, 1.3, 1.6, 1.8 and 2 litre. In standard form was a bit meh, you know, it was just a normal looking car of the day. However, they did a 2-door and a 4-door version. Same could be applied, like I said, with the Mark 1. Hide the Mark 2 rear door handle, something like that. Or just have a 4-door. Doesn't matter, you know. We can have difference. They don't all have to be the same. That's the point. Some of these looked absolutely stunning. I mean, the single round headlight, my brother had one of these and it was brilliant. Again, companies like MST do their version of it at £1 million. And it's just unreachable for most people. Yes, if you've got plenty of money and you want a toy, great. But if you want a mainstream car, no, you can't afford one. I particularly loved the double headlight version like they did in the RS. Again, I like the standard one. They did a lot of rally cars in those. I did some rally training many years ago in a Mark II Escort with Silverstone. Fantastic car to sling around a racetrack. But this one specifically with the quad headlight, beautiful, with the extra wide body kit, absolutely stunning. It's just something about that bulging arches that you get on the X-Pac Capris and the Mark 1 Rally Escorts and the Mark II Escort that's just beautiful. And I don't think I'm alone in this camp either. I think it's just stunning. And I don't think it would cost a lot. With aluminium panels, it wouldn't cost a lot to develop, but it would look epic. Some might say amazing. So that brings me on to number 8. And this one is a bit of a left field car. I've got another one of left field car to come as well. But this one is this, the Daimler Dart SP250. This was made between 1959 and 1964, had a 2.5 litre V8 engine. Now, I'm not saying it needs to have a V8. You know, you could have a V6 or just a straight 4, a 2.5 litre turbo straight 4, modern technology, same old school design. with modifications and improvements. I mean, yes, okay, the old Daimler had its issues. One being that the door quite often opened as you went round a corner. Maybe fix that little problem, but look at it. In its hardtop version, fantastic. Great little sports car. Looks much better than some little MX-5. Definitely. Gorgeous looking thing. Even a convertible, and I'm not a convertible fan, but that looks beautiful as a convertible. Just stunning, stunning car. And I would love to see that back on the roads again. Now, of course, Daimler no longer exist, but I'm sure Jaguar could pick it up. I mean, they've got the F-Type. I suppose you could argue that the F-Type is like a modern version of the SP250, but just doesn't have the same look, does it? And I think that would look stunning. And I'm looking at the type of people that buy F-Type Jaguars. I think they would jump at the chance of owning a modern take of the old school looking SP250 Daimler Dart. And as I say, Jaguar could take over, who knows, but there you go. And that brings us neatly onto the penultimate car, number 9. Now again, before I talk about this one, I want to highlight the fact that we do not want a crossover version. We do not want an electric version. I mean, you could use a 1.5 litre bi-turbo hybrid, something like that would work. But I'm talking about this, the epic car that is the Mark II Granada. Now, I know what you're thinking. The Granada ended to make way for the Sierra. The Sierra ended to make way for the Mondeo. And the Mondeo has been around for 20 odd years. But it's time for the Mondeo to make way for the luxury saloon that is the Mark II Granada. Again, that old school, square, boxy look with the modern technology in it. Now, I get it. Aerodynamics is probably not its strongest point. But, again, with the slight modern take, you can adjust that. Just don't make it a big round blob. Certainly don't make it a crossover. So the original Mark II Granada was made between 1977 and 1985. Came with a 2-litre 4-cylinder engine, a 2.3 V6, which they could probably drop. They could definitely drop. Or a 2.8 V6. Now this is a luxury saloon with a 3-litre V6 turbo perhaps, would be stunning. I had quite a few of these Mark II Granadas in my time. These are two specific ones that I had. A 1978 Mark II 2.8 carburetor car. This was my one. Awesome car. And I had this, the 2.8i Gear X Executive. Now what made it special was that the leather interior had like a massive cushion on top of the leather seats. So comfortable, gorgeous to drive, smooth gearbox, just beautiful, beautiful car. This one, I was the second owner of this, and the previous owner was the owner of Jewson's the Builders. Gorgeous car. I loved this. I should never have got rid of it. And I have looked, and it's currently sawned. So it hasn't disappeared off the face of the earth, and I would love to trace it again. I would love to have this car again. There's something about the Mark II Granada. Just that big, long, executive look. Again, we don't want a crossover. We don't want an SUV. We want a luxury 4-door saloon that doesn't look like a jelly. A big slab. With modern aerodynamic intakes. Let's go with that. But yeah, I mean, look at it. Beautiful, beautiful car. I love the Mark II Granada, and I would love to see this back again. Please, Ford. Again, not a bespoke company making them and knocking them out for 60, 70 grand. Ford, reproduce this car. Old school is cool. People want old school. Just don't do electric versions, because you know it doesn't work. You know the infrastructure isn't there yet. And you know that electric is going backwards at the moment, because it isn't what everyone was said it was going to be. We knew that. But anyway, make a hybrid version, 1.5 bi-turbo. That would work. No problem at all. They've done it so many times. Skoda did a 1.1, I think, in their massive SUV. that worked. But yeah, Mark II Granada with the luxury interior, with that big, long, square look. Yes, 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 yes. So then on to the final car, and we're back to that left field. And I think this is quite left field because it's probably a car that not many people have heard of. So finally, with number 10. And that's this, the Peugeot 504 Coupe. Now this was made between 1968 and 1983, came with 4 different engine types. You had a 1.8 or a 2 litre petrol, or a 1.95 or 2.1 litre diesel. Yes, that horrible word diesel. But again, diesel technology is getting so much better that it could work. Or just petrol, hybrid, we'll go with hybrid, not electric. Now on the subject of electric, they did do a concept car. Again, a concept car which they then did nothing about. So why bother? And style-wise, they've got it absolutely spot on. It is beautiful. Fantastic. Look at it. It encaptures exactly what the 504 Coupe was and brought it into the modern era. It looks stunning. It's wide, it's chunky. It's got the squinty front end. It's got the nice sleek lines, but it was a concept that they never bothered making mainstream. Why waste millions of pounds developing this concept car and then doing nothing with it? I don't get that. Again, this was electric. I don't want electric. That's the type of car, it's quite small. You could make a 1.6 litre petrol or 1.5 turbo. It would work really well as a hybrid, something like that. I mean, yes, they did do a standard version, and like a lot of them was just a bit meh. 4-door, looked like all the others of the ilk in the 70s. But the 2-door version with that Pininfarina Ferrari-esque design, oh, just stunning. I mean, look at that. Absolutely gorgeous looking car. I mean, I would love an original, but I would absolutely love the amazing, I'm saving that word for last, amazing looking concept version. It's gorgeous. And the coupe, an original coupe, oh yes. I mean, it is gorgeous, isn't it? Look at it. Look at it. From every angle. There's not an angle where it looks ugly. The rear, the front, the side, everything about it just looks beautiful. So, there we go. That brings me to the end of my list. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comment section below. If you agree with me, let me know in the comment section below. If you think I missed something, guess what? Stick it in the comment section below. I know, okay, that these are old technology and times have moved on, but retro is cool. People love retro. They love going back in time, but the modern take on these, and I don't mean keeping the name. I mean, Mustang, as we know, they kept the name, then turned it into an electric SUV. I mean, yes, okay, you've still got the Mustang, but to do a version that's an electric SUV, I mean, why? Just why? That should have been the Ford Fusion, and I'm not going down that road again. But with these, don't make the same mistake. Bring back the old car. Don't make it an SUV. Don't make it a crossover. Don't make it electric. Make it with the old design, but with the modern technology, and I think you've got a winner. Let me know in the comment section below what you think of all that. And that brings me to the end of this episode. So please stay tuned for more. I'll be back with more cars, more bikes, more reviews, and lots of other stuff. So until then, have a very good Christmas. And until next time, please ride and drive carefully, but have fun. Bye-bye.